Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Lauren, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi.
Hello.
Hi, sorry I couldn't be there. I'm at home with a sick child.
That's okay. No worries. All right, we're almost ready to start. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Administration Executive Committee regular meeting of Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. I'm calling the meeting to order at 3:00 p.m. Do I have any committee or public comments? Very good. We need to make the mic hot on the stand, please. The chair recognizes Mike Neal of Ridgecrest.
Yes. Good evening, gentlemen and lady. Afternoon, sorry. I'm gonna take the clock off. So this is the best committee that I've figured out to bring this up to. You don't actually have this item on an agenda, or I'm going to talk about changing that later, but I'm going to talk about the need for increased conservation and what I brought up a number of times now, actually, and it doesn't seem to be getting traction. So I'm going to keep bringing it up. We have not quantified the possible conservation that could be had by reducing the amount of green space watering on residential and or commercial. I mean, look at the city wouldn't fall into this, but they've got a huge amount of green space in front of their building that it's been brought up a number of times. They're not bothering to even think about getting rid of the grass out there. There are along where I take walks, there's at least one church that's got a large amount of grass in front of it on Norma Street. There's places all over town that people haven't yet decided I need to reduce my water bill. I need to get rid of my grass. And like I said, there's a relatively straightforward way to do this. The state's already done the aerial view maps. They've got those available. You've got the software, forget what it's called, water something or other. And I don't think that the district's actually done a complete job. If they're going to talk about, let's look at very expensive part of the solution, which is producing recycled water. When if you could just improve conservation amongst the general public, it's almost no expense to the water district. The upfront cost would be some employee time, estimating out, what might we get out of this, and where are the best avenues to approach it, say with, individual property owners, stuff like that. Like I said before, I'm not totally against anything that even appears to have any heavy-handedness to it, but you could just educate people as to look, we're in this situation where we're on the finishing line approach here, basically. I mean, as far as anybody knows, I'm just gonna take my best guess, you could easily save 1,000 acre feet of water by just getting people to get rid of grass bases.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets you almost to where you need to be to the allocation that you've got. Certainly in the lawsuit, when the largely increased recharge rate comes into play and is recognized amongst the valley, that would probably be the end of. You might not have to even do recycled water, but you don't know that because you haven't quantified it. So I'm urging you guys again, let's go there.
Okay, thank you for your comments. There's certainly more room, more cushion for conservation in the valley. It's what conservation, we believe, is what brought our pumping from a high of 9,500 acre feet per year down to roughly 5,500 per year, so 5,500 acre feet per year. I'm sorry, thank you very much, sir. Any other committee comments or questions? All right, item number 3, Senate Bill SB 1100, FEHA driver's license discrimination. Staff is to present modified job descriptions, removing the requirement for the employee to have a driver's license as driving, if driving is and not an essential part of the position.
Okay, so I will report on this if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my understanding is you do have the revised job descriptions in front of you. So effective January 1st, California's Fair Employment and Housing Act, FEHA, included provisions that prohibit employers from requiring job applicants and existing employees to possess a driver's license when the job does not require them to drive. This includes removing driver's license requirements in job postings, applications, and other materials. So each manager reviewed their department's job descriptions and determined if the position would reasonably be expected to drive. The revised job descriptions, are included in the packet, and those were determined to not meet the qualifications for requiring a driver's license.
I don't see in the accountant's description, licenses none, that already says that. Right, so the accountant's, which has been revised, has already, just says no licenses must, okay, it's already got that language.
Lauren, are these modified already?
Yes, they should actually be redlined. If they're not redlined, we did, for the accountant specifically, it may just not have been redlined, but we did remove the requirement to possess a driver's license.
Okay, and I see we've added notary public commission to the customer service director.
I was going to add that as well for all the customer accounts because they deal with the covenant, the landscape covenants for the new meter sets.
Okay.
We have, each one of them has a notary public already, but we just added it into the job description.
Right, let me finish looking at these and. Okay, so if they don't have if their job does not require a driver's license in order to perform the drive, do we have a policy that says if you're going to drive a water district automobile or the other vehicle, you must have a driver's license? Do we have that in the policy?
I believe that's already required, but I'll defer to Lauren on that.
I suspect we could defer to California law, which says if you're going to drive a vehicle, you have to have a driver's license.
Well,
I think we may be covered there, but if you want extra coverage, we are glad to put that in there.
I would agree that it would need to be written somewhere that if we hired somebody without a driver's license, they didn't just go jump in a vehicle and take off at lunchtime or something, if that was the case.
Well, we can't require a driver's license, but I'd like to be sure that if they're going to be, that all the jobs that require you to drive, these people will not be driving district vehicles. Is that right?
They may on incidental things that come up if they have a driver's license.
Okay, is that policy? I don't care about state law. Is it water district policy? Because that is what is going to save our bacon if they get in an accident.
I don't know if we have a policy.
So to chime in really quick, I am in the process of updating or creating a driving policy that was provided to us by Sederma, and
Okay.
I'm modifying it. That just hasn't happened yet. I am still in the process.
Okay, you were very kind. Thank you. Any other paranoid questions I might have for you? I'll bring them up. Really, they're just, that sort of issue is a concern for me. Any questions or comments about the modifications to the job descriptions? All right, would you recommend passing this on with an approval?
I do.
All right, I agree. So we will send this forward to the Board of Directors with a recommendation that they approve it, minus my rambling comments. Item 4, additional district temporary MRC position. Staff to request board to consider creating an additional district temp position for maintenance, repair / construction crews.
So you may remember that 2 years ago, a little over, the board approved a position for a MRC to cover all the locates that were coming in. We still get locates, and we still need the position. Engineering cannot handle the amount of locates that come in. So we're bringing it to the board in the next fiscal year that we can have that position open again for another 2 years.
Okay, so it's temporary in that it is not a permanent position, and they know that when they're hired on.
That is correct.
There is provision for those people who meet or exceed our standards could turn into a position as a permanent position at some other time or some other position.
If one should become available.
Okay. Do we have anything we need to review this? Is it just a request for an approval?
It's more so that the board can approve it so that we can add it to the budget
Okay.
coming up.
I would agree with that.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, then let's go ahead and we'll recommend that move forward to the board with our request for approval. Outstanding public record requests.
There is one outstanding public records request that is diligently be worked on by Lauren and Chris. It has to do with, I believe, a request from the GA in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And due to certain litigation that has gotten to a point where the information requested, some of it may need to be released. So I think they are currently querying databases and thousands of emails and documents so that they can provide what was requested.
Right, so just for clarification, the Groundwater Authority requested information that was pertinent to litigation and not, and therefore exempt from immediate release.
That's what our lawyer told us.
And now that that information is going to be made public in court, it can be released to the requesters.
That's my understanding.
So I would say for the record, there was no slow walking. I think that the request for the FOIA request was premature. All right, any questions or comments about that? Mr. Neal?
So let me go slightly off topic. It's funny that
Not too far.
this comes up, and yet it just came out either yesterday or today that Searles Valley is having to sue the GA to get information that should have been made public a long time ago. So there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Neal.
Yeah, and credit to Jim. Jim called me up out of the blue and went, well, it's time to do this public records request. It's been sitting around for a few years, so he was very diligent. He didn't need to be reminded or nobody had to call or ask. He just decided it was time.
That's great. That's his. All right, perfect. Anyone else? Nope, okay. Item 6, Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority, committee to discuss actions taken at the GA board meetings and potential action items moving forward.
Not really a lot to report. We've had our discussions on the GA meeting. There is a GA meeting next Wednesday.
Okay.
I have not seen the board packet yet. I did get an email that there will be a closed session and then open session with no closed session afterwards. So
Okay,
it should be a relatively quick meeting, it looks like.
They got a bunch of stuff on there, just administrative stuff, contract approvals, and it was pretty lengthy.
Okay. I haven't seen any of that yet. It hasn't got sent to the board.
But nothing of
Okay.
terrible significance, a lot of really just administrative contract type stuff and agreements that they're working on.
Okay.
so that they were going to have a special meeting where they're going to request approval of their modification and they canceled that meeting?
They did. That meeting, it was set for the 28th. It did not have a time
Okay.
that I seen, but I got an email that meeting was postponed. It
All right,
didn't say canceled, it just said postponed. So I'm assuming that the report did not get filed with the state by the 31st deadline, but
okay.
it could have and just did not get submitted to the board. So I would hope that it would have got submitted to the board to look at at least before it got submitted.
I
But-
don't
Judging by your
believe, I don't
comment-
believe it was submitted in the staff meeting today. I think it was inferred that they're considering delaying the release of the updated GSP based on the adjudication. So that was
Okay.
sort of, I think that might be the reason, that was kind of reading.
They didn't
between
come
the
out and
lines.
say that, they just.
Yeah,
implied.
Yeah, I think they're still in discussions about whether they should or shouldn't. I think their legal is probably looking at it and saying, well, what are the legal implications of us releasing an updated GSP while we're in the middle of the adjudication? And so
Okay.
that's for their legal to decide.
Well, both for you and you, sir, urge them to let the board have as much time to review the updated document as possible.
Yeah, and I will be requesting that Wednesday, I assure you.
You're a gentleman, sir, and a scholar. Questions or comments? Mr. Neal?
Yes, just a suggestion, I guess. Took the time to sit through and watch part of the last GA meeting on the video recording. I can't stand to go there in person, listen to this kind of stuff, but I was informed maybe it might be interesting. And certainly enough, the portion where Mr. Hall took it on himself to act like a board member and try to argue with Mr. Griffin about some particular point, I forget which, was quite impressive in the fact that, you know, he was taking that position out of line altogether. He's the whatever, you know, acting chair's agency's attorney, I guess. I don't know who's the chair right now.
Direct Heyman is the chair.
So it should have been the city's attorney there, and I
Correct.
guess maybe he couldn't get there somehow. They point Phil to show up anyway. He obviously likes to do this stuff. My suggestion, I'm gonna say this again, but just let you know at the next board meeting, is that Mr. Hall be instructed as his position on this board as a staff member, and he's there to answer questions on legal matters or maybe offer opinions that legal things that come up. And outside that, he's not there to say anything else. And he needs to be shut up, basically. He's done this far too many times, and he's just been let loose, just, you know, like a loose cannon to just banny about and throw his opinions out and try to sway things to the way he thinks that they ought to go. And it's not his job, and he's completely out of line. And I think he needs to publicly be told so if necessary.
Okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. All right, anyone else on item 6? Item 7, alternative water sources. Committee to discuss possible future and alternative water sources.
Yeah, I'll give a quick update. We did get so just today, we received the initial proposal from Krieger and Stewart to begin studying alternative water sources. So if it's not on the agenda now, it will be. I think Lauren May said she was going to put it in. So hopefully, I don't know if we got the right copy printed out, but you on the
I mean,
agenda.
right copy on this.
On the
board
next,
agenda.
our next item, the board
Okay.
agenda, it will be on there for the next board meeting. And so I don't know if, because Lauren was out, whether we got the right copy to print for this meeting, but it will be there.
It will.
So that's significant. It was $175,000, and that would be coming out of the future source of supply account, which is one of our reserve accounts. So it's not an increase to our overall budget, but it does mean we're going to tap into some of our
Existing funds.
existing funds to do it. And so that will be for board consideration.
Okay,
The most critical thing to consider is tonight we'll be at the city council saying we would like to see if the city will move forward with negotiating with us for the rights to the water that come out of the future wastewater treatment plant. We'll see how that goes. I guess we'll see how that goes. We're hoping they will. And that would be obviously, I don't know if we want to wait. This will be a board decision. Do you want to wait until the city says yes or no, or gives us some indication where they want to go before you commit to that study, or do we want to just do it? So certainly something to think about
I think
for the board.
that the board can discuss that. I would go ahead and give them the letters tonight, put that other item on the agenda, and the board can discuss whether they wish to wait at that time. So you'll be representing the Water District tonight?
Yes.
You'll be delivering the letters which I have signed?
Yes.
All right, very good.
I'm glad to hear that, and I appreciate you doing that for us. I think it's important that we reach out to the city and we get them working together with us on this project. And
I
we can
agree.
move forward and try to find a low-lying fruit that is a quick fix that
And perhaps-
isn't as expensive.
And perhaps a solution that not only benefits the water district and the city of Ridgecrest, but also the naval base as well.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a desire for and thoughts about how they'd like that plant built and located, and I think that we should strive to meet all the possible requirements we can.
Yeah, and I'll say this, there was I believe the GA put out it was a public letter or something, and they claimed that recycled water was $5,000 or $6,000 an acre feet as compared to the imported water line project of less than $3,000 an acre foot. I really think it's probably in our best interest. I think we've done a really good job of going in and doing the best we can to estimate the imported water pipeline project, and our estimate is significantly higher in the $5,000 to $10,000 an acre foot range, depending on how much water is delivered. I think it would be prudent for us to, move forward and really get a good cost estimate. I will say the GA's own study by their engineers estimated the cost first at $900 if you percolated in the ground, and it was $2,000 if you did it a different way, and it was $3,000. So like, we're not sure how that suddenly, they gave some justification, but there's such a range out there. Their own estimates range from 900 to 6,000 or 7,000. I think we should try to narrow that down and really understand it. Our engineers have looked at the study that was done and
Right.
certainly have some suggestions that they think would make it far more cost effective.
So our engineers and consultants who specialize in these sorts of projects have given us a range of costs based on the best scenario, the worst case scenario, and a couple of data points in between. And the news releases I've seen from the Groundwater Authority staff tend to have what looked like worst case scenario in the case of the cost of recycled water, and best case scenario in the case of water that comes out of a pipeline. But our consultants don't show $2,000, $3,000 an acre foot for water from the pipeline. It's more like on the best possible scenario, which I think is vanishingly small probability. It's at least $5,000, but somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 an acre foot. I don't remember the exact figure, but it was so high that large cities would not proceed with the project.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pertinent that we do that, and I agree with you. Bring it to the board and let us decide how we want to proceed. But I personally would like to see that we have an agreement in place with the city.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I'll tell you, I was surprised to see it was a very exact number, like $2,885 for the recycled water, and that's a very precise number in a project that has a huge range. And I personally have not seen any. Maybe they have done a study that they haven't shared with us, but I have no idea where that number came from.
We don't know. And
I know that you can, if you asked us where our number came from, we'll give you spreadsheets and reports and
Yes.
analysis.
They
And
tell you everything very tight to the chest. Their cards are right here, and they don't show anybody what they've got, and that is not how you operate transparent government.
And while we're discussing alternate water, because I believe this wastewater will definitely benefit if we can re-inject and let it go back into our groundwater system. I would like to know if it's possible to get some well data. I've talked to a couple people in the area, kind of by Mahan in that area, that said their wells are actually coming up. Do we have any of that data on our wells? Well 9, well 8, stuff like that we could see if we're actually getting a recharge?
The well levels have come up in that area, but I can give you exact numbers at the board meeting.
Oh, okay, that would just be good for me to have at the GA meeting because I seen the release that was put out by the Groundwater Authority yesterday or the day before that stated we were going to run out of water in 40 years. And I would like to stress that because of the conservation that has happened and the spreading of the pumping, we are seeing a recharge in areas in town. So it's not a declining water table as being depicted by them.
Okay. So are those wells, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I'll give you the trend for all the wells and their levels.
Now, do we know why the water level's going back up? Are those wells located near our wells that have been shut down, or?
Yeah, so because of the reduced pumping in those areas,
Okay.
because of the lack of pipeline on Indian Road,
Right.
the burden of pumping is shifted to the southwest well field, which you have seen decline in that well field.
So it's the cone of depression is
Yeah.
cone of influence of our wells
Sphere of
that's
influence,
allowed the water level in other people's wells to go up. So that's a good point, and they're going, if they're thinking or listening to today's tape, they're going to bring that up. It's just a temporary cone of depression, and we need to be able to address that.
Yeah, I just wanted to see an average so
Yep.
we could look at it.
Yeah, well,
Well, it's a-
even if one side is going down, we're increasing our pumping, and the other side is going up where we had to decrease our pumping, it tells you that the water level in the valley is elastic in those areas, and that it's not dropping precipitously like some predictions have been made.
No, and it also tells me in my head that if we spread the pumping out more,
That we can cause
we
less
could
disruption to other
cause less
people.
disruption overall.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We used to pump a lot heavily in town, the well 8, 9A, 10 area. And since we don't anymore, even in our own wells, there.
Coming back
water
up?
levels coming up.
Okay,
Okay, good.
that is good to
The
know.
valley has the ability to recover as we move forward in time.
Yeah, I think, good. All right. Anything else on item 7? Mr. Neal?
Yeah. So this will be first question. Mr. Kroll, the letter you're going to present, and I assume that will be during public comment.
Yeah, it's not on their agenda, so it'll be during the, public
Okay.
comment. So I doubt there'll be a lot of discussion about it, but I'm certainly going to ask that they put it on the agenda for a future meeting.
Well, I have a connected comment related to that, so I'll wait till after you go, and then I can pop up and talk about it. As far as the study that was just mentioned about alternative water sources and stuff, or is there anything in there that addressing what I brought up before is to looking at potential ways to better capture rainwater when we do get rain here? In some years we've had, my quick estimate several years back after I think a rain we had was like 1 inch ends up being 80,000 acre feet over the surface of the basin, something like that. So I mean, if we would have caught a little bit of that and let it actually get down into the aquifer, the claims are made that there's 2 layers of caliche, it never goes past that, and it ends up evaporating, and it never gets to the aquifer. Maybe there's no way to grab that, but there may be, I'm thinking it's just top of my head, go to places where the runoff is the best and punch some shallow holes through the caliche so it will percolate down in there. These water consultant guys ought to know best about that, and they probably could tell you without, charging a whole lot of money to get an estimate.
Okay, thank you.
And I will tell you that the suggestions you made are pretty much incorporated in that. There are I believe 3 or 4 locations that we will explore, and they include areas that are on the western side of the valley, where runoff potentially could be captured in some sort of pond or system, and in an area where we believe some of, like the SkyTem data and stuff allows us to say there's a good probability that if it is captured there, that it'll be able to go down under the deeper confined aquifer below the clay layer. So that is an integral part of the study.
If Los Angeles dumped some water into the valley because they had a surplus, we also would like them to look at in the study, making arrangements to capture that water and allow it to percolate into the groundwater as well. That's a significant amount of water.
Without it being an environmental nightmare,
Right.
because we tried that as soon as it happened, and
Right.
so
No, you have to.
we're on that path, Mr. Neal, trying to get there. It's just
The list
not a
of
quick.
No, sorry. The list of permits is truly impressive. And the list of studies is also quite spectacular. But it would be easy, not easy, but once you got over those hurdles, you could prepare the ground to receive the water, it would be pretty reasonable to expect a great deal of that would get into the groundwater table rather than evaporate.
Yeah, and I'll just say this. This is where the investment in science that the Water District had made will really pay off. Like the consultants that we discussed with, about doing this work, the new data that we have, some of the seismic stuff we looked at, some of the SkyTem data, all the other things that we did to develop the best science for the valley, really give them a giant leap ahead in being able to predict the best places to find and capture water. So that's the investment starting to pay off.
Good, good. All right, anyone else? All right, we'll go to item 8, the draft agenda, which may or may not contain the item aforementioned. Let's take a quick look at it. Yeah, the audit, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy
Long
meeting.
It'll be a
And
long
long
meeting
meeting.
with the audit and the hearing.
It will.
Audit and the
I'll
public.
bring
hearing.
Mountain Dew for,
We may need snacks this time, right?
oh, there it is, preliminary engineering analysis, item
There-
11B.
Yep,
These guys are amazing, how quickly they get this stuff updated.
do you see anything missing, Chuck? Do you see anything you'd like to have added? Okay,
I did receive a call that maybe we need to add the, one matter in closed session on land negotiations, if we could discuss that. You know, we discussed it, but maybe putting an end to it, or I don't know what I'm allowed to say in public, but.
well,
I
if
would
it's
like-
closed session, then nothing.
Yeah, so I would maybe add a closed session item.
On land negotiations,
Negotiation.
can we do that at this time?
Lauren, are we still have the ability to add something to the agenda?
Yes, I will pass it along to Jim and get the language for it.
For land negotiations, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I am not surprised you're on it.
All right,
Thank you, Lauren.
anything on item 8 from the public? All right, so with that addition, then we've approved the agenda. Item 9, future agenda items. You mentioned one, yes? Did you not?
You'd have to refresh my memory before
Well-
the meeting or,
During the meeting. It doesn't matter. I can't remember either.
I think what I was talking about was I wasn't sure if the agenda item for the.
Oh, all right, okay.
Con,
All right.
the Krieger and Stewart proposal was on there,
Okay.
and it is, so.
Okay. Anyone else? Future agenda items? Mr. Neal?
Yes, as I hinted before making during public comment, believe that it would be a good thing to add conservation to the agenda of this committee. I don't see where it fits in any of the other committees better than here. And, you know, like I said, that could be a big deal. So go get ideas, come from the committee and go up to the board.
Okay. So thank you for that. We'll,
I do have one more.
go ahead.
And I'm not sure about adding it to an agenda or where we need to go with it, but at the workshop, we had a discussion, from Chris talking about carpet with the computers and the static. And I think we need to move as quick as possible to get that replaced. So I don't know if that needs to be an agenda item for,
Kind of plant and equipment.
yeah, I
right?
know.
It is under that, but we already have, it's in the works.
Okay.
In the works.
Okay, it just kind of concerned me. the more I thought about
So,
it.
all right. I'm gonna say we get an update, but plant and equipment's really the appropriate, so,
Yeah, I just didn't see it on
No.
there, so that was my question.
okay. Well, that's good to know. All right, Mr. Neal, we'll take a look at adding conservation to this agenda and see if it fits here or someplace else better, and I thank you for your comment. All right, anyone else? With that, then, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting closed at 3:32 PM. Thank you.